Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 on a Tuesday morning. Is it Tuesday already? It doesn't feel like it should be Tuesday already. We are recording. Before we get started, I like to spritz the watercolors because that makes them nice and juicy. So that when it comes time to use them, it just takes a little dab to use them. I don't have to sit there and dab and dab and dab and scrape and scrape and scrape. It's that goofy little dance thing that the kids do. This is the time of day when we pull a toy out of the Randomogrifier, the Random Object Randomogrifier, which is a toy box that has about 500 toys in it in canisters. And when I pull it out, I have no idea what I'm pulling out, especially since Girl 2 has been pulling them out for me lately. She pulls them out, I research them, and then the next day I throw it up here on the light stage and we draw it. We're going to continue the process. We're into a new book, and we're going to continue the process of using the ink and watercolor wash that we've been doing, just because I feel like I didn't get a full month's use out of that. There were only 24 pages in that book, usable pages in that book, so I'd like to do it for at least a full month. I feel like that light is super bright, washing out my drawing on this camera. I want to make sure that you guys can see what I see. Today we have a Daeodon. Daeodon is, I tell you what, let's finish the composition phase here before I start putting details. I'm really eager to jump into the details. But let's get the composition phase down. We want to make sure we have everything that goes on this animal is on the paper where it goes on the paper. Make sure we have the whole. Make sure we have room for everything, how it goes. That will give us cues as to where to put other things when it comes time to put the details in. We want to make sure we have room for them and where they go. So that's the importance of the composition phase. And then you can just move right into the details. But if you don't do the composition phase, you'll end up with your drawing not fitting on the paper where you want it to go. You'll end up with it off center or in a different place. You won't have room for your shadows. You won't have room for your background. So the composition phase is very important for that. But back to what I was saying. The little girl pulled a Daeodon out of the toy box for me today. Daeodons are intelligents. There are only two thriving members of intelligents that we really care about. Both of them are Daeodons. Intelligents are likely ancestors of whales, but that is hotly disputed. Hotly disputed. The family that became whales and hippos, family's not the right word, the group that became whales and hippos differentiated from the artiodactyls. This is going to get a little scientific for a minute because this is the stuff that fascinates me. Artiodactyls are ungulates, which are hooved animals, but they're a special kind of ungulate that has even toes. Artiodactyls have even toes as opposed to peristylodactyls, which have odd toes. Odd hooves, not toes, hooves. But these particular ungulates separated off from the anterodactyl family at about the same time, 50 million years ago. Whales are 50 million years ago, and Daeodons are 49 million years ago, give or take. And by 35 million years ago, we have Daeodons. And they lasted from 35 million years ago to 16 million years ago, and they were extremely successful. And when I say extremely successful, I mean they were everywhere. They were all the way. There was a version of them in the Americas. There was a version of them in Eurasia. There was a version of them in Africa. They were very successful. They made it back and forth across the Bering Strait and carried their genetic variations all the way around the world. Very successful. Did I say successful? I want to make sure you understand that there were a lot of these. We have a lot of these in the fossil record. And they are what we would consider very strange looking. They have these lobes. They're zygomatic processes, which is the bone underneath your eye, the cheekbone underneath your eye. They're zygomatic processes. They have one on each side that kind of hangs down a long ways, like sad puppy dog ears. And they're, again, hotly disputed as to what it's for, because there's a little bit of sexual dimorphism, so was it used for display purposes to attract a mate? Is it for protection? Because these things did interspecial face biting. They would attack each other with these big, ginormous, sharp teeth. They would attack each other. So was it for protection? Did they use them in fighting? Was it a place to anchor muscle? These skulls are 3 feet up to 1 meter long, and the body is the size of a small elephant, but the head is massive. And they have the scary, scary teeth. When they first discovered them, they thought they were pigs because of the way their head was shaped. They looked like wild boars. And so they got the nickname hell pig because of their very sharp teeth, and because of their size. They got the nickname hell pig, and it kind of stuck. They originally tried to put them in the Suidae family, which they're not. They're not. Later studies provided evidence to show that they are not in the Suidae family, so they're not pigs at all. But they look like they might have been. But then hippos look like they might have been also, and they're not. But these things have large bison-like bodies with the big hump over behind the neck to support this huge head. And they have teeth like a bear. And they have long, spindly legs like a boar. And when the scientists looked at these things, they were like, they were all over the place where they could place it. And when it comes to paleontology, which is just a weird branch of geology. When it comes to that stuff, evolutionary biology, the easiest way to figure out what a structure was for, or where to classify an animal, is to look at its descendants. This whole line just died 16 million years ago. just died off. Every example of this species is gone by 12 million years ago at the very latest. How are we doing on time? Oh, it's already 5:41. Goodness gracious. We'll ink this in real quick so we can continue on. And Daeodon means perfect teeth, which, having looked at this thing's teeth, it has these big conical canines. I mean, huge conical canines that come down and hang way low, like a saber-toothed cat. And then it has another set of them behind it that are just super long, super thick, not very sharp, but still very conical and a little swooped. And then it has a series of premolars that are angled backward to pull food down, like a predator would have for ripping live food off of bone. But then it has plant chewing molars in the back. And so this thing just completely confused everybody when they were trying to classify it. Can't talk, Artie. But yeah, it just completely confused everybody when they were trying to classify it. Is it a bear? Is it a beaver? Is it a pig? What is this thing? And it's none of those things. It just has some features. We call that convergent evolution. When animals have similar features, like batwings and pterodactyls and flying foxes, all have very similar features as to how they develop wings, but they're not related to each other. They didn't descend from each other. They have no direct ancestry. Yet they all have similar features. Well, that's this thing. This thing has similar features to a bison. It has similar features to a bear. It has similar features to a pig. It has similar features to an antelope. And the people trying to classify it are pulling their hair out. That's why most paleontologists have long beards and are bald. And then the cats are getting it on outside. I don't know if you can hear that on camera or not. It is cat getting it on season. I don't have cats. These are the feral cats of the neighborhood. So it's just a song I get to listen to. Where was I? Ah, yes, the confusion of taxonomy by not being able to say this is. Well, there are no descendants, so we don't have anything we can say definitively. This is what this is, and this is what this feature was for, and that lends them easily to being victims of the scientist speculation and then saying it like it's fact. That irritates me. I've said this many times. It irritates me because they'll say, well, this is obviously for this, so this is what this is, and that's all there is to that. You know, maybe you don't know so much. You know, maybe this time you admit that this is just something you're not going to understand. It's just not going to mean anything to you. Because there are no living animals. There are no living examples of this. So all we can do is speculate. We know they were meat eaters, aside from the fact that they have carnivorous teeth, because we find piles of bones in their vicinity with their bite marks on it that were fossilized. We know that they used their teeth to fight with each other because we have in the fossil record skulls with bite marks carved into the skulls in places where they would have fought, like they would bite each other's faces when they were fighting, like Tasmanian devils. I did not look into the relationship. Maybe if Bill Flowers watches this, the snake artist, him and Lady Jennifer, are good friends of ours from Australia. If they watch this, maybe they can give us some insight if there's any relationship between these things and Tasmanian devils, but I can guarantee you they're not, because these are placental. Well, I don't know if Tasmanian devils are placental or not. So maybe they are related. Maybe if Bill and Jennifer watch this, maybe they'll give us some insight. If they do, I'll share it with you when the next time I talk to you after they leave me messages. All right. So if I were just doing traditional ink and wash, this is where it would stop. I might come back in with another layer of the blue to separate this from this over here, but if I were doing traditional ink and wash, which I think is what we're going to do in the next book, we're going to finish this book out with the ink and wash watercolor. And then I think when we move to this book, we'll just do traditional ink and wash. No warning. You just turned the red light on to the bright noise. Bright noise. Bright noise. What is good? It's no damage. It's good to say deep comment section. These guys had a huge advantage in that they have very little predatory competition due to their size. When they were victims of climate change is the current thinking, but not the way you think, not the way they talk about everybody else being a victim of climate change. As the Earth was warming and cooling, it warmed and cooled many times, and when it did, the landscape changed. The trees fell away to huge grasslands like the African savanna, and animals that had been thriving in the wooded areas like mastodons were finding themselves out in the open, and they didn't like that, so it was causing them to move into areas that they weren't adapted to. But these things took that in stride. They just got bigger and longer legs, and got better at running through the woods or running through the plains, and better at chasing long-legged animals. They did all the right things to be successful in that environment. They got bigger, and they got stronger, and they got faster, and that's typically a good thing. Their only competition up to about 10 million years ago, their only competition were hyenas, a relative of the hyenas, not really modern hyenas, but their only competition was a relative of the hyenas. And these things, there's arguments over whether or not these things actually hunted, but they know they hunted, but then they think they were more opportunistic hunters like bears rather than like lions. And their thinking on that is their teeth are not super sharp. They think these guys were herbivores that had to adapt to a opportunistic carnivore lifestyle due to the coming and going of food during the cold periods, during the cold spells. But all that said, I need to dry that one more time. That's still a little bit damp. If I go over that part with this pen, that ink will just bleed everywhere. Hang on a second. But they think that these things, more than hunting, they think these things were the type of carnivore that just would walk up on somebody else's kill and push them away and take their kill away from them. So the hyenas would track something down and kill it, and then this thing would saunter up and say, "That's mine now." And the hyenas would be like, "No, we killed this." And the Daeodon would be like, "Yeah, well, what are you going to do about it? Give me your lunch money." And that worked for millions and millions of years. You know, about 20 million years. That was a very successful model for about 20 million years. But going back to the climate change issue, the Bering Strait kept opening and closing and opening and closing. there's an animal called a bear dog, and I kid you not, when I was watching, and this is Scientific America calling it a bear dog, this is Nat Geo calling it a bear dog. This thing is called a bear dog. When this bear dog shows up out of Eurasia, it outcompetes the hyena. It is faster, it is more aggressive, and it had a brain with more had more wrinkles in its brain. And so it was way more adapted for hunting in the environment. And it killed off the hyenas. And that is when we start to see the decline in Daeodons also. So again, the argument is that the Daeodons were so tied to the environment with the hyenas that the influx of bear dogs, it just sounds like something out of D&D. The influx of bear dogs outcompeted them. So that is the current understanding of why there are no more of these things. What is today? Today is the 17th of June. And normally I'd say that's a sad thing, and what you could do for conservation, and how you can contact your Congress critters to do something about it. But honestly, I think we're better off without these things roaming the plains. These things would eat you. All right, let's see how it turned out. This camera. Turn this off. So there it is, compared to the photograph that was provided for the photo reference. And then let me get it here from my perspective. Safely eject the camera. Put that there like that. And this way you can see it the way I saw it as I was darting and dodging around over here. Dun, 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 dun. Actually, yeah. There we go. Let's at least put it facing the same way. So there's your Daeodon information for the day. Your Entelodon. They called it a hell pig because it had them big sharp teeth and looked like a pig. Daeodon means terrifying teeth or scary teeth. Entelodon means perfect teeth, so it's a scary teeth member of the perfect teeth family of artiodactyls, of even-hooved ungulates, and it's more closely related to whales and hippos than anything else. But that relationship was 50 million years ago. That relationship ended 50 million years ago. So, all right, where are we? Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Let's see real quick here what Girl 2 pulled out of the Random Object Randomogrifier for tomorrow. So we have an egg for tomorrow already. I don't know if Girl 2 or Boy 2 pulled this one, but they pulled it already. It's a dragonfly. Dragonflies are the Native American symbol for change. I'm probably going to fluff the wings up just because I want to. But dragonflies are the Native American symbol for change and excitement. So tomorrow we get to do a dragonfly. we'll throw that up on the light stage and see how that works. Be sure and tune in for that tomorrow, 5:30 in the morning. Same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And then we dance. We dance till somebody says they see me dancing. And when somebody says they see me dancing, that means that the lag has caught up with